Okay, so it has often plagued me that most people don't know how to chop an onion correctly, and while there are many different ways to shear a sheep, I think that cutting an onion is something that is a valuable know-how. So you've got two ends of an onion, you've got the root end, and you've got whatever this fabulous little flower end is. Don't know the name. We're gonna cut off that end right there and create a stable base, and then we're gonna chop through the root in half vertically, and we're gonna peel off this outer layer. Wait, the magic is happening. It's all happening. I'm gonna get rid of that guy, shove him over there. So from here you think, why aren't you cutting off the root? Well, the root actually is like a built-in handle. It keeps it all together really beautifully. So if you want to do a dice like we're going to make, you're going to start by going vertically through, and then you're going to turn it 90 degrees, and you're going to go vertically through again. So that beautiful little handy root there kept it all together so your onions aren't all discombobulated and wobbly. So we're gonna start with like a thin coat of olive oil, and we're gonna add in our onions. We're gonna add our diced pancetta, and we're going to add our prosciutto, also diced. We're gonna let all of that sweat, mingle, coexist, become friends, make a delicious pork party in our pot. So I'm thinking like a medium low. You don't want the onions to brown. Brown equals bitter when it comes to an onion, garlic, any allium. So you just want like a nice sweat. You want the pork to give off all of its fat. You want it to render as much as it can. And all of that is going to be the salty fabulousness that's going to flavor our vodka sauce, which is wonderful. Is looking deliciously sweat and fabulous. You can see the onions have become translucent. They're not quite as purple and stiff as they were. They're enjoying the party in there with the pork. Delicious. We're gonna add about 2 cups of vodka into here because what would vodka sauce be without the vodka? And then we're gonna crank this heat up as high as we can go, and we're gonna reduce that down to about half a cup. So we're going to take that all the way down till it looks like pretty much all the liquid has been evaporated. So that basically is your sauce. Once it reduces down, we're gonna add the tomatoes in, we're gonna let them cook out their acidity, add a little cream, and we are locked, stocked, and loaded for vodka sauce, which is so delicious. You will definitely be making it once a month and impressing all your friends. Vodka has evaporated out. And basically what it did was it concentrated the flavor down, and it infused the pancetta and the prosciutto and the onions with that, that bare essence of flavor while removing all the moisture. Because at the end of the day, we want a nice, luscious, thick sauce. So the vodka has done what it's supposed to do. I'm gonna hand squeeze these tomatoes, which you know, is a very technical term for squeezing tomatoes with your hand. Make sure your hands are clean, get in there and break them up. I personally like texture in my sauce and in my vodka sauce specifically. So when I say squeeze them, I'll literally take one in my hand here. I'm just meaning breaking them up a little bit. They do not have to be any consistency other than one that you think is desirable. There is no right or wrong to squeezing tomatoes. Oh dear. Oh dear. Wow, that was as good as it could have been. Tomatoes are in. We've reduced the heat so that we don't burn anything and caramelize anything that we don't want caramelized. I would think this many tomatoes is about 4 cans of 28 ounce, so about 110, 112 ounces of tomatoes. I think this is gonna take about 1 hour and 15 minutes, but we're gonna keep it around like a medium low. We're gonna bring it up to a simmer. And as we go, I'm gonna show you the development of a sauce. So it's really interesting. A sauce has a certain amount of stages to it as it's cooking out that acidity. You're gonna go through like a really bright phase, and then you're gonna go to a dark, rich phase. And as somebody who maybe doesn't cook as often, I suggest that you taste things as you go in every phase so that you get to learn how something progresses in its flavor profile. So we're raw right now, we're not gonna taste them yet, but as our bright foam starts to develop, we're gonna take a taste of that and see how bright it is on our palate. And then as the next stage comes, we're gonna see how it gets deeper and richer. And it's just gonna be a nice little journey. Come on in here. So we're at our first kind of developmental stage that you can see. All of this light foam that's accumulating at the top is the water and the acidity from the tomato that's being released. So just like in anything else, if you boil something, it will come down to its true essence, which in this case is sweetness. So all of this foam is a really good sign that we're getting somewhere. We are cooking our tomatoes properly. So I'm gonna taste it just because, again, I said you should always taste it. So let's see. Okay, it's already delicious. It is bright and flavorful on the palate. It's got a nice acidity to it. You can taste the pork and the caramelized onions already. This is gonna be a delicious pot of vodka sauce. It's me again. We forgot to put the thyme in the sauce. Another note on being a chef or a cook: it's never too late to correct a mistake. All right, do you see this ring around our pan here, our pot? That is a very good sign. That's actually pretty much tomato paste. So we know that we are getting a nice reduction. We are getting the water out of our sauce. We are deepening our flavor. So our foam has gone from being bright and light to being dark and rich, which is exactly what we want our sauce to do. So we're on the right track. And now we're gonna put in the cream at the final stage, and we're gonna let it just kind of chill out. We don't need to actually keep the cream on the fire, so we can turn off the heat at this point, and we're just gonna let all of that mingle and cohabitate and, you know, kind of like a get to know ya. So I think our color should probably be like almost like a burnt orange. You want that really thick beauty from the tomatoes, and you want the cream to just kind of mellow it out a little bit. You don't want it to go too far into a pastel. I think a pastel is not what we're going for. That makes me so happy. It's absolutely delicious. You're gonna love this. Okay, so we're gonna make our pasta. The most important thing I would say is making sure that you have a good amount of salt in the water. It should taste slightly less salty than the sea. So, you know, I would say a good couple tablespoons, somewhere in there. So we're gonna salt our water. We're gonna let it come back to a boil, which it has done. I like cipriani pasta if I'm not making my own. I think that it is absolutely delicious. It is light and airy. So we're gonna put that in. Our water is going to start boiling again. With very delicate pasta like this, you don't want to over stir it. So anything like a thick textured dried pasta, you want to stir it a lot in the beginning to make sure it doesn't stick and to make sure that air is flowing through all of the individual pieces of pasta. But with very fragile pasta like this, that's a little bit fresher, you really just want to make sure you're kind of fluffing it every now and then. You're not going to do like a rigorous beat. So we're going to leave that in for about 4 or 5 minutes. We're gonna take it out of the pasta, we're gonna put it in the sauce, we're gonna toss it, put it in our bowl, top it with some cheese, a little fresh basil, and you're good to go. So our pasta is ready. We are going into the sauce. You can drain it if you'd like. I am a big proponent of using some of the pasta water in the sauce as a thickener. There's gluten in there, so it'll give it a nice luscious mouthfeel when it coats the pasta and when it hits the lips. So I don't mind kind of spooning it out like this and getting some of that. And then if I need to add more pasta water, I didn't put it down the drain. It's right there and I can just totally grab some. Get a nice turn on it. The pasta is delicious. The sauce is delicious. It doesn't need a tremendous amount because we also want to taste how good the cipriani pasta is. So we're gonna take this. We're going to do a nice beautiful pours, but that is our delicious pappardelle with vodka sauce. We're gonna top it with a little bit of cheese, some fresh basil. Thank you to the basil plants. And it goes on the table.